Moscow American here, enjoying yet another beautiful day here in the small neighborhood area up on the north end of Moscow right now. I think I mentioned last time, but yeah, it's been ridiculous the amount of rain we've actually had here lately. It's kind of nice to have clear days now. There was something in one of the local newspapers that was raising the question of whether or not this year was going to make it to be one of the rainiest years on record or something in Moscow area. Not sure if we'll make it, but that was the question. There was something that was kind of like a Facebook marketplace type thing. It wasn't Facebook. I can't remember which website it was. Obviously not Facebook here, but someone posted some little advertisement as a joke saying, this was like 2 months ago, saying it like, oh, haven't had much rain, offering services to do like a Indian rain dance or something, try and help bring the rain. And then we've had like all these weeks of just unending rain. So it was going around social media that someone posted that original little advertisement with like the reply, whoever paid for this service, please cancel it, we're dying now, we're flooding. So anyway, that was good stuff. So yeah, as far as news going on, I've caught the headline, the tragic situation in New York City with a gunman going up, barricading himself in one of the high-rise buildings there. I think it said he opened fire like in the lobby or something, and then ended up barricading himself up one of the higher floors. It's interesting though, the building was a headquarters for BlackRock, a lot of the financial stuff, and also I believe the offices for the NFL. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what comes out of that. Last I heard, there wasn't really much information as to even how many victims, much about the shooter or anything. So it'd be interesting to know what was behind that. I think they did say that he took his own life after barricading himself in one of the upper floors. So tragic, but I'm curious to know what is behind all that. Walk along here, find places where it's quiet. They seem to do like all the remodeling work, all the road work, everything, just throughout the entire summer. Let's see, I think, yeah, they've even been repaving here, so I'm not quite sure where the crosswalk is, so I'm just gonna go across here. I think it used to be somewhere around here. Yeah, haven't been able to figure out. It's like, man, why is the whole city just turning into one construction zone all at once? And I realized I'm not used to living in areas that are actually cold, so quite a few months out of the year, just the ground's frozen. They're just not as not an option. So when you get the middle of the summer, anything that involves digging into the ground, got to get it done then. So I think that's plays into it a bit. Anyway, I happened to peruse Breitbart, one of the very much mainline Republican, well, one of the stronger Republican end of things, and they had some story about how Trump should get the Nobel Peace Prize because he's had 6 peace deals brokered in 6 months, right? He's averaging stopping a war a month. And I just kind of have to scratch my head and go I come from a more conservative background. I'm definitely more that way culturally, religiously, and all, but at the same time, man, has the Republican Party become a parody of itself. I mean, right now we've got the whole thing with Thailand, right? And he's posting on Truth Social, they already got a peace, even though, as far as I'm seeing from other news sources, there's still clashes, fighting going on. So it raises the question, it's like, is there actually going to be, really? And you throw in the as we call, as Trump titled, the 12-day war thing with Iran and Israel. I mean, does it count as brokering a peace when you help cause the situation? I mean, really? Like, they're having negotiations with Iran, Witkoff's having them, and then they just pull out, right? And it turns out they know that Israel's planning to strike Iran, and then they're quiet about it. So let the whole thing happen when they could have stopped it, and then support Israel to the hilt. And then all of a sudden, Israel's wanting a way out because, lo and behold, they're out of air defense systems, or out of air defense munitions. And so Israel reaches out to Iran's like, okay, can we stop shooting? Iran's like, yeah, sure, that was our position all along. You stop shooting us, we'll stop shooting you. I guess that's what we're at right now, is that counts as brokering a peace deal. And of course, Pakistan and India, he's taking credit for that one too. But I want to say I remember that one, them being quite angry because they're like, yeah, we handled that ourselves. We didn't really need Trump. I seem to remember that. I might be wrong, but I might have to go digging through the archives there. So, yeah, apparently so. Just take credit for all the world's peace. Wow. Oh well. That's Trump. And I'm back. Starting to walk near the highway there for a second. Been kind of deafening with thousands of cars going by. Up on this big, there's this big circular highway that kind of just wraps the whole outside edge of Moscow. And so it is always deafening anytime you go anywhere near it. So anyway, so yeah, Trump was in Scotland just recently. No, I don't think he's still there. But he was there. It's all the footage of him playing golf. Even saw it made the news that Secret Service debuted some sort of special armored golf cart to follow him around. So there we go. Tax dollars at work. I mean, I understand why you'd want that, given that the last assassination attempt was while he was out playing golf. So I can't pick on him too much about that, if I'm going to be fair. Anyway, though, yeah, to get that trade deal signed I mentioned last time. Orban was out complaining that they basically just got absolutely battered with that trade deal, and he's absolutely right, 15% tariffs, and the EU didn't even impose reactionary tariffs. I mean, come on. Anyway, though, he was also asked, Trump was asked about the whole 50 days for Russia-Ukraine to come up with a solution, and of course, Trump, being as consistent to what he decides as he always is, said, well, I've actually decided to change that. So now we're 10 to 12 days. So let's cut out cutting out about 30 days in there, something like that. All right. Let's just do that. Right? Nothing says developing a strong foreign policy, like flip-flopping every 2 minutes. And the chaos is kind of starting to feel a little bit comical at this point. I swear it wasn't this bad last time. I still kind of think crossing at the right place this time. I still kind of think it wasn't this bad last time. I still kind of maintain he might be better than the alternative, but man, it feels like he's trying to make me doubt that. Anyway, here's it's all flipped, but because my camera's mirroring, but Lasiny Ostrov. Get to see the front of it this time. Anyway, yeah, I'm literally starting to wonder. There's this old famous work. I think it was in this. It was called The Ladder of Divine Ascent. It was this famous monastic work written in, I want to say it was in the 6th century, by a monk in the monastery out near Sinai, I want to say. And he's listing all the different steps to try and pursue holiness and all. But I want to say it was in there that I remember this warning. It was saying, it's if you're being tempted, right, the demons can tempt you with every insult and attack, but the most dangerous one is a compliment. I'm starting to wonder, it's with Trump, it seems like the first term, he seemed, if anything, at least somewhat more stable, as long as you weren't like listening to CNN. But if you were trying to balance it out, it still seemed like he was a little bit more stable on this. But back then he had all the never-Trumpers, he had all the Russiagate. It seemed like when he was under pressure and pushback, it was going much better. Now when he has Lindsey Graham, sucking up to him, now that he has more and more the Republican conservative mainline on his side, it's like, man, you do not do well. The minute you get complimented, oh my goodness, what happens? Like, maybe it's just his insane level of self-confidence and belief in himself means that when he's being attacked, it all kind of evens out. When he gets complimented, it just boosts it to insanity levels. I don't know. Anyway, so 10 to 12 days. I was already seeing a news report this morning that oil prices were already starting to go up. So we're not talking crazy, but it was still something like 2.6% or something in U.S. markets, I think it was. I'll have to double check that, but already going up because there's already the prospect that it's going to be coming soon. I was popping over to Larry Johnson's website, and he thinks it's going to be a nothing burger. I don't know. With how much Trump goes back and forth, there's no telling what he's going to do. So I'm going to withhold judgments on that, to be honest. But he made the fair point. He's saying it's probably just the fact that on the battlefield everything is collapsing. So 50 days is a long time for the Ukrainian military to hold out at this point, how fast things are falling apart. So they're probably just not wanting to take that risk. I don't know, though. I don't know how interested Trump is, but he might still be getting pumped up with a 24/7 dose of Lindsey Graham telling him, this is going to end your presidency, that you gave this victory to Putin, all this, so you got to make some sort of statement. So doing the thing it feels like Trump's always doing, which is listen to one person, go this way, and then listen to somebody else, go the other way. Seems like he's, once again, with all of that stable decision-making, making yet another abrupt turn. Oh, boy. So we'll see how this all plays out. I mean, I can tell you how it's going to play out with Russia. They're not going to budge. And, of course, Trump comes out with his, I've talked 5 times, maybe it was 4 times, with Putin, right? And he's very nice and all, he doesn't sound productive, but, he then just goes on and won't fix the conflict. It's like, did anyone brief you on what the Russians have been saying for literally years now, right? Every negotiation just keeps coming back to the same old, we need a freeze. When in the history of conflicts do people agree to a unilateral freeze where the enemy is going to get rearmed when you're winning? Anyway, so angry at Putin because he won't see reason. Because under your previous presidency, the Ukrainian military got armed to fight a war with Russia that's happening. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, they won't see reason. They give you the exact same position. They say, here's what we're going to do. Got to work with us on that, or no start. And then everyone runs around saying they're stalling when no one will even acknowledge their position or meet with it or even discuss it. Oh, man. It's insanity at this point. So anyway, got all that going on. Another piece of news, I've seen something recently about the British Minister of Defense putting out some statement in an interview saying that, they need to dedicate more money into cyber attacks on Russia and China. Part of me just kind of has to scratch my head and go, I get that everyone, all the countries kind of do this to each other. This is sort of the world of intelligence, all this stuff, right? Everyone. But at the same time, in terms of diplomatic decorum, whatever, you don't say that part out loud, right? What if there's a major cyber attack that causes real damage? Is that now going to be, and since you've been shooting off your mouth saying, oh yeah, we're supporting cyber attacks on Russia. Well, is that now going to be the basis, extra fuel to the fire to say, well, now we need to have a war or something like that, when turns out you just like publicly admitted to being tied to something that might cause real damage? Oh my goodness. I feel like there was a time, when you look back at the Cold War, right? Maybe some crazy stuff happened, but still, at least it felt like both sides had, at least often, adults in charge. I mean, you look at things like in the Korean War, right? Soviet pilots involved, flying, shooting down American planes, right? You had, Soviet weapons, money, and all that going into Vietnam, right? You have the U.S. sending in all of this support into Afghanistan, right? Help the Mujahideen, all this kind of stuff. But you didn't admit to it. You at least, we all knew it. Everyone knew it. Both sides knew the other side was messing with them. But you didn't admit it. There was a certain kind of diplomatic protocol. We're not going to try and get into a war. We're not just going to fully announce that's what was happening, unless you count that third Rambo movie or something like that. But I don't think that counts. But instead, no, let's go advertise it for the world. At the same time, I mean, related, maybe unrelated, I don't know, right? Serbia is saying their Justice Department, or whatever, they're saying they've been undergoing cyber attacks to basically bring their system down. They're apparently saying that it might be coming from the EU. Okay, interesting. I get it. Yeah, Britain might not be part of the EU anymore. Well, technically isn't at this point. But at the same time, I mean, collectiveness, West, NATO. Can't English right now. Been speaking too much Russian lately, so that's what I'm going to blame it on. Anyway, all of that going on. And yeah, these attacks. I didn't think Serbia was Russia or China, to be honest, but maybe there's a moral here, which is just don't bow to what the collective West wants, and you'll still be on the receiving end, just as if you were Russia, China. Maybe that's the takeaway we should have from all of this. In other related, maybe unrelated news, I was noticing that in the local Russia news I was looking at today was, Aeroflot's had this huge round of troubles, including a big cyber attack from a group that I think this report was actually an RT, so not local news, was saying that this group was overtly connected with Ukraine or supporting Ukraine. They claimed to have been in their system for a while, got a bunch of data, and then crashed the system down. So we had 100 flights were canceled or delayed the other day. And so, big mess. So there's that hacking and cyber stuff going on. Apparently, it's also seeing poor Aeroflot, their stock value took a big dive from this. So this is causing a lot of damage here, I guess. But yeah, I'm sure in no way connected, but still, yeah, we're in the world where you just apparently say all this out loud now. Not saying that that attack was backed specifically by Britain or anything like that, but the coincidental timing was quite interesting on that side. Anyway, in other news, so back to Thailand, Cambodia. There was an interesting piece that I think CNN put out. I was reading recently about they're comparing the militaries, and they're going with this whole breakdown put out by one of the think tanks. I want to say I forget which one it was, comparing their militaries, and they were going with this very strong narrative of Thailand, longtime U.S. ally. It's a U.S.-backed military, and then Cambodia is this Chinese-backed military, kind of on this implicit that it's this kind of discrepancy in Chinese equipment versus U.S. equipment, which I'm not an expert in that area. I don't have a background comparing Chinese to U.S. equipment, but it is interesting because I was noticing in the breakdown, Thailand actually uses a lot of Chinese stuff too, and so that did get me wondering. So I went and did a little bit of digging, and Brian Berletic, he's based out of Southeast Asia. I want to say at least at one point he was living in Thailand, and he was putting out a story kind of pointing out that this is a bit of an artificial narrative, because when it gets down to it, Thailand gets more weapons and support from China than Cambodia does. Just part of the issue is just Thailand has that much bigger a military, and potentially more diversified anyway. Because yeah, like Thailand's seems like their main tank force, a lot of those are Chinese tanks, just newer Chinese tanks than the old Cambodian ones. So anyway, I'd suggest going to his stuff, the new atlas. He's making the point that what this is getting down to is not just this simple alignment of this U.S. military equipment for Thailand versus Chinese, but instead there's kind of this whole internal mess of destabilization going on, where Thailand itself kind of has a breakdown between more pro-Western factions and less pro-Western. So just there's a lot of overall unstabilization or destabilization. I can't English right now, apparently. Been trying to speak too much Russian, I guess. That's what I'll blame it on. Anyway, this destabilization, potentially with some Western prompting, because, timing, right? Right after the Trump administration, announces that they're needing to refocus more on countering China and all this stuff, suddenly you have all this destabilization coming to a head yet again, right on China's doorstep, right? Give Trump that Nobel Peace Prize, right? Just bringing peace everywhere. No. Not like Trump probably sat down and consciously made a decision to interfere in Thailand or Cambodia, but you get my point. Anyway, there probably is a bit more to it than that, and it does seem, I'm a bit suspicious that it does seem that even though I don't have much background in that area, the narrative does seem weirdly convenient. Picked the perfect place to walk through. The sun is shining right through on the camera. Let's try. There we go. My arm just gets tired after a while. Meanwhile, apparently at least Trump made a statement, I think it's just been yesterday, talking about trying to increase U.S. aid to Gaza. Wow, he will say things that disagree with Netanyahu, because he did make some statements about the major problem with the starvation and all going on there, because I believe Netanyahu's been saying there is no starvation. Fake news, right? All those videos, even some Western reporters stuck in there, caught, malnourished, all this stuff, right? More people dying every day. Not happening. Well, at least Trump's acknowledging it. Which, I mean, does that then make it more awkward if now the U.S. just keeps unilaterally supporting Israel, as Israel's getting more and more brazen with its government politicians saying they want to clean out Gaza, or even when you have U.S. politicians now saying, "Oh, they're gonna do like with Tokyo and Berlin." Not the best look, probably.